Hey guys, so we're going to do a couple questions out of the test review packet 1. So number 5, a ball is thrown straight up in the air from the top of a 288 feet building with an initial speed of 48 feet per second. The height of the ball as a function of time can be modeled by the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 48t plus 88. The first question asks for when will the ball reach a height of 320 feet. So the key part here is that the height's given to you as 320 feet. So what we're going to do is take 320 as your height and plug it into the height part of our function. So we're going to have 320 equals negative 16t squared plus 48t plus 288. So we're trying to figure out a time that makes this statement true. So in order to solve quadratics, we need one side equals 0. So we're going to go through and subtract 320 on both sides of the equation. And we're going to come up with negative 16t squared plus 48t minus 32. So from here, there's multiple different paths that you can take to figure out what t is. So one way you can do it is by factoring this and solving for t. Another way is by completing the square. And the way I'm going to do it here is by using the quadratic equation. So to use the quadratic equation, you need to know what a, b, and c are. So a is the number in front of the t squared variable, b is the number in front of t, and c is your constant. So a is negative 16, b is 48, c is negative 32. So we're going to take these and plug it into our quadratic equation. So we're going to have x equals negative 48 plus or minus square root 48 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 32 all over 2 times negative 16. So from here we got to go through and start simplifying it. So we're going to start with the square root. So when we do everything that's inside the square root, 48 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times negative 32, we get 256. And then on the bottom, 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. And the square root of 256, that's going to be 16. So when we get to this part, we have to deal with the plus and minus. So with the plus and minus, we're going to break it apart into two different components. The first one, we're going to do it where it's 48 plus 16 divided by negative 32, and then negative 48 minus 16 divided by negative 32 as well. So negative 48 plus 16 is negative 32. Divided by negative 32 is 1. So we're going to have 1 second. And then negative 48 minus 16 divided by 32 is going to be 2. And 2 seconds as our answer. So the ball is going to reach a height of 320 feet at 1 second, and then again at 2 seconds when it starts coming down on its descent. Part B. What's the highest that this ball will reach? So when you're trying to find the highest of anything, we're going to go through, draw a picture first. There's your building. You got a guy on top throwing the ball up. It comes down. So the highest point is called the vertex. And the way you find the vertex is through the formula negative b over 2a and f of negative b over 2a. So the x value for your vertex represents time. The y value represents the height of the ball at that time. So we're trying to look for the highest point that the ball reaches. So eventually we need to find the y value for our vertex. So we're going to come back to our equation at the very top. Figure out what a, b, and c are based off of that, and then plug it in. So a is going to be negative 16, b is 48, and c is 288. So we have to do negative b over 2a. So it's going to be negative 48 divided by 2 times negative 16. And that's going to be 1.5 seconds. So the ball is going to reach the highest point at 1.5 seconds. And since we're looking for the height, we're going to take the 1.5 seconds, plug it into t. So height equals negative 16 times 1.5 squared plus 48 times 1.5 plus 288. So when we type all this into a calculator, follow PEMDAS, we come up with 259.2 feet. Alright, so the next one we're going to do is factoring. So we're going to take these three terms up here and factor them. So with this one, you can't really do the M method because there's a random y here. So what you're going to do is go through, look at all three of these terms, figure out what they have in common. So the biggest thing that you can divide 18, 30, and negative 24 by is 6. And then if you look at the x's, the first one has x8, the second one has x5, and the last one has x4. So that means they all have at least x4 in common. So you can take that out as well. And then parentheses. From here you're going to go through, take each piece, divided by 6x4. So 18 divided by 6, that's going to be 3. x8, you took out x4, that means you got 4 left. And then you move on to the next part. 30 divided by 6, that's positive 5. You had x5, you take out x4, that means you got 1 piece left over. And then the last one, negative 24 divided by 6, that's going to be negative 6. Or I'm sorry, negative 4. So negative 24 divided by 6 is negative 4. You had x4, you took x4 out, so that's not there anymore, but you still have a y left over, so you got y there, and that'll be your answer. The one down here, whenever there's three terms, what you're going to try to do is the M method. So you got to multiply the first and last one together, and that gets you negative 84 x squared. So from there, you're going to break apart negative 84 in a way that adds up to negative 17. So the only combination that works is going to be negative 21 x and a negative or positive 4x. So negative 21 times 4 is negative 84. Negative 21 plus 4 is also negative 17. So this is the only combination that multiplies to both negative 84 while adding up to negative 17. So from here you bring the first term down and the last term down. So the first term, bring it down, last term, bring it down, and then we're going to go through and group them. So take your first two terms, factor out what's in common. So they both have at least 3x in common. So you can divide both 6 and 21 by 3, and they both have an x. So left over, 6 divided by 3 is 2. You had x squared. You still got one of them, so you got an x. The next one, negative 21 divided by 3, that's negative 7. You had an x with it, but you took it out, so it's just going to be negative 7. The last group with 4 and 14, they both are divisible by at most 2. Inside 4 divided by 2 is 2. You still got your x. And negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. So from here we got one more step. We're going to group this whole entire thing. The parentheses are again the same. 2x minus 7, so that comes to the front, and you have 3x and a plus 2 left on the outside, and that's its own parentheses. And that's it. We're done.